Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. presided over a joint military exercise to sink a ship in the South China Sea, in the clearest signal of his determination to revive his country's military alliance with the U.S. and repel Chinese encroachment in the disputed waters. The rare maneuver, and its supervision for the first time by a Philippine president, was the highest-profile event of the Allies' largest joint annual drills in more than 30 years. It comes as China's Coast Guard has stepped up harassment of Philippine ships around territory controlled by Manila in the South China Sea in recent months. The combined forces turned a barrage of fire on the vessel, a former Second World War U.S. corvette decommissioned by the Philippine Navy 2 years ago, starting with MRs, the powerful mobile rocket launchers that have helped Ukraine counter Russian attacks. This salvo was followed by shore and ship-based guns and helicopter attacks and guided bombs from F-16 and F-35 fighters, which finally sank the ship. Marcos, who was elected almost a year ago and is scheduled to make his first state visit to Washington next week, mounted a HIMARS truck in a dramatic show of his personal endorsement of the exercise. Throughout the Balacaton exercise, which ends on Friday, the U.S. military has demonstrated its focus on countering China's ambition to control the air and seas in the Indo-Pacific region. The People's Liberation Army is pursuing the capability, untested in battle, to target U.S. ships, aircraft, and bases in the region and impede Washington's command and targeting capabilities. It intends to do so through a combination of intermediate and long-range missiles, a rapidly growing air force, a navy that can field munitions farther into the Pacific, and electronic warfare systems. This strategy aims to deny the U.S. military access to the area and prevent it from freely operating. To foil this so-called anti-access area denial strategy, A2AD, the U.S. is remaking its forces in the region to be more mobile and less predictable, allowing them to operate within reach of the PLA's weapons. The Marine Corps is restructuring to build relatively small units that can seize footholds on islands from where they would support naval forces with data and put enemy ships or aircraft at risk. The 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment, a pilot unit for this concept, is heavily involved in Balacaton. The regiment supported the ship-sinking exercise on Wednesday with high-altitude Reaper drones and provided sensing and targeting data for the bombardment. It provided similar support for another live-fire drill on Tuesday in which joint forces fired at drones with anti-aircraft guns and Stinger missiles from an Avenger launch truck and downed targets resembling cruise missiles over the sea with Patriot air defense batteries. Last weekend, Marines and Army soldiers from the U.S. and the Philippines were airlifted onto Baton, a remote island that overlooks the Bashi Channel, to practice securing the terrain against a potential invader. The channel is one of the 2 main routes for Chinese Navy ships to transit open waters of the Pacific. On Monday, a U.S. Army landing craft brought a HIMARS system to the island, suggesting that forces could use the strategic location to target ships across that entire narrow strait. "What we do is we revert the A2AD equation," said Carl Timothy Brady, the regiment's commanding officer. That message will not be lost on China. On the same day that the HIMARS was unloaded on Baton, the Shandong, the PLA Navy's newest aircraft carrier in operation, sailed west into the Bashi Channel not far from the island after operating east of Taiwan and the northern Philippines for the past 2 weeks. United States and Philippine forces fired on a mock enemy warship in the South China Sea on Wednesday, the latest display of American firepower in Asia as tensions with China continue to rise. The exercise, watched live by Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., was part of the annual Balakatan drills, which are scheduled to run until April 28th and involve more than 17,600 military personnel, the largest such exercises ever conducted by the two longtime treaty allies. U.S. aircraft, including F-35 and F-16 fighter jets, as well as Mars rocket systems and Cobra helicopters, joined with Philippine F-A-50 fighter jets, helicopters, and artillery to fire on a decommissioned warship towed to a site within Philippine territorial waters off the island of Luzon, a Philippine military release said. Luzon, the northernmost of the Philippines' main islands, is only 280 miles, 452 kilometers, from Taiwan, the self-ruled island over which the Chinese Communist Party claims sovereignty despite never having ruled it. Earlier this month, China's state-run media labeled the drills as an attempt to target China. U.S. and Philippine military leaders said Wednesday's exercise was designed to synchronize combat forces. This training increased the exercise's realism and complexity, a key priority shared between the armed forces of the Philippines and the U.S. military, said Lieutenant General William Journey, the commander of U.S. Marine Corps Forces, Pacific, said in a statement.